Welcome to Awkward Chats, where we take you on a hilarious journey behind the scenes of our travel adventures, and it can get a little awkward.
I'm Nacy.
And I'm Gary.
And together, we make up Lost Girl in Tomorrowland, our YouTube channel, where we go on fun adventures all across the U.S. But that wasn't enough. We wanted a place where we could talk about the real behind the scenes that goes into producing our channel.
Awkward Chats is your ticket to the real, unfiltered side of our travel adventures and a place where we can start your awkward conversations.
So buckle up and get ready for an adventure full of laughter, mishaps, and of course, awkward topics.
You can find new episodes every month, everywhere you get your podcast. This is Awkward Chats.
Welcome back to another episode of Awkward Quickies.
Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the different festivals that happen at Disney World's Epcot.
Yeah, so let's get this started.
Yeah, you explain each of them.
Yeah, I'm going to get this started. So basically there's 4 festivals and they give or take run about the same time every year. It seems like our first festival, which is Festival of the Arts, seems to be getting a little bit more traction. It used to be that one was like only really for like a month. It was literally January to February, but it does seem like maybe it's getting a little bit more traction. This year, 2024, it's going from January 12th to February 19th. So about a month.
Yeah, it's still about a month.
And then we got a week where they're transitioning over, and then it's going to be festival, no, it's not called festival. It's the International Flower and Garden Festival, which is my favorite festival. And that runs from February 28th to May 27th. Now that seems a little bit longer than in years past. Now they don't officially do anything in the summer, but they did last year. They did like a whole summer thing, but they change it every year. Like one year they did Guardians and they had like Guardians Summer or some crap like that. They don't have anything announced right now for summer, which is basically going to be from like May until, July 27th. July 27th is when they're starting the International Food and Wine Festival this year. They usually don't start that till August.
Yep.
Now it's going to start in the summer, probably because they don't have anything for the summer.
Well, they fired all the Imagineers to come up with these ideas.
Yeah, so that will run from July 27th till November 18th. I feel like that is like its longest running festival, perhaps.
Yeah, that's what I felt like too when we lived there. We constantly were going to that festival.
August, September, October, November. And then the other one is March, April, May. Yeah, it's 4 months.
Yeah.
It's the longest running festival. And then at the end of the year, they have the Festival of the Holidays, which we did go check out this year. We did actually Food and Wine and Festival of the Holidays last year. We were able to get those in. Mm-hmm. And I think we're going to get to go to Flower and Garden this year, which I'm excited because that is my favorite festival.
So let's talk about Festival of the Arts. I really like Festival of the Arts. It's less of an eating festival and more of just watching people's artwork, which I like. I love the like different Disney takes from artists, the different pieces that you can buy there. It's really kind of...
It's interactive in the sense that you can paint a mural. Like you get a little paintbrush and you can like paint your little part of the Disney mural.
I love that part too. Yeah. That's because you're part of the artwork at that point.
They
of course, Disney
sidewalk.
sells it, but you're part of it.
Make your own magic.
Yeah, exactly. And if you don't know, that's their new slogan, folks, is make your own magic. And that's that's the parks in general. That's not a specific festival.
That's like 2024. So you know. That's 2024's new theme is make your own magic, which seems a little poo-poo on you.
Can you imagine paying like $500 to a few $1,000s for a family for one day and being like, now make your own magic with all that money you gave us. Enjoy.
Right.
So back to the festivals though. So they some people call it farts. I think that's stupid personally.
I don't know why they're calling it farts.
Like why do you shorten festival but leave all of arts in there? Like that doesn't make any sense. It could be FA.
Arts doesn't stand for anything.
Right, exactly. Yeah, arts is actually short for probably like artistic or something.
Now, what is interesting about the food of Festival of the Arts is they do try to be a little more creative with it and make it more colorful. So like they do a lot of like
but it's
deconstructed food, and they do like twists on food that are like art palettes and stuff.
It kind of reminds me of the Pim Kitchen stuff. That's what it reminds me of. It's like I feel like it's like the test place for the Pim Kitchen stuff that they're doing. I like it just for the artwork. The food has never got great in my opinion. It's not bad, but it's not that great.
You can also go see different Broadway shows too. They usually have Broadway artists.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
up at the
at the pavilion.
stage.
You don't get the whole show though. You just get
No.
parts of it.
Yeah, so you can see Broadway artists sing like their songs that they're known for. Very quick festival. It starts and then it's over.
So let's go to the summer festival.
Next festival is going to be Flower and Garden.
Yeah.
And that's our early spring, I guess you could say.
I guess, yeah.
And to me, that's my favorite. That's my favorite festival because the weather's still halfway decent. And it starts to get warm towards the end, but the weather is decent and the food is light. Like food and wine, the food is so heavy and it's hot outside and it's just, the two just don't go together. Whereas I feel like Flower and Garden, they have topiaries. They do the garden rocks just like they do for food and wine. It's called something different, but it's basically the same idea. You can pre-purchase a dinner at one of the Epcot restaurants, and then you get seating to one of the concerts. And they usually have okay shows. There's been a couple years that I'm like, oh, I would go see this band, but I never do. Hanson, I think, is one. The Joey Fatone.
Yeah, they've had some old like rock bands and stuff. We've actually seen them walking past. We've never just stopped and taken a show completely in. I like the food in Flower Garden the best. If you had to ask me which one has the best food booths, for me, again, this is my opinion, the grilled food at Flower and Garden to me elevates it because that's kind of where my tastes are the elevation. Once you get to like the other ones, they're a little more like soupy and stuff like that.
Stewed.
And it just doesn't work with the Florida heat. It's just kind of like, okay, if we were up north, maybe this would work better, but we're not. We're in almost subtropical Florida. So this one's got good food. That's my favorite part. I like the topiaries too. I like the butterfly garden that they always have. And I like just sort of like that flowers and prettiness
flavors
to it.
From smoke was always like my
That's
favorite.
One of my favorites, yeah.
They had, and now I don't know if they still do it, but they had piggy wings, I think is what they were, and they were basically like a rib, but it was like a chicken wing.
Yeah.
Anyways, I don't know if they still do it, but the last year we were there, it was so good. They always had like drinks, and now granted, they've just reopened the middle, and there are still a few more walls to come down at Epcot. So I'm interested to see how that's going to affect Flower and Garden as like, because last year they had walls up everywhere.
Yeah.
And very limited festival booths, and they were kind of spread out a little bit further. So I'll be interested to see this year how much better the booths are, because that whole center area is supposed to kind of help with these festivals that Epcot does.
No, it's not. It's going to be a wedding venue. They're trying to get people to have their weddings there so they can close off the area, have a wedding, get a bunch of money on top of all you people who are paying to go and see the parks. Let's be honest what it really is. But maybe it'll alleviate some traffic issues. I again, though, I think that the Flower and Garden one, from a view perspective and from a food perspective, I think it's one of the better ones. It doesn't have the art that the Festival of the Art has, so it doesn't have those little things that maybe you want to buy and take home.
They have a lot of flowery stuff. Like you can buy like different flowers to take home and plant, which I think is kind of weird because you don't necessarily want to take a plant from one area and move it to another.
No, it's called an invasive species. So that's interesting. Like, but the merch isn't as good in the
Flower and Garden.
Flower and Garden.
Yeah.
The merch just isn't as good. And then you roll into the next one, which is Food and Wine.
Food and Wine. Yep.
Which is interesting. The name leads you on to think that that's going to be better food. For me, again, if you lived up north, it would be better.
The drinks are okay, but the food is kind of
heavy. It's just heavy. Like there's like beef stroganoffs and stuff, and it's like eat that in 100+ degree weather,
and you will be puking.
And I guarantee you, within an hour, you will be puking.
You don't feel good.
Yeah. It's just like
it's a bit more of a challenge to find foods that I think, for me personally, that aren't going to weigh me down.
So I think Food and Garden would be great if they had space to sit and like relax and enjoy it. For those who've never been to it, basically most of your food's going to be consumed on top of trash cans or in some space that you find where you can barely sit down. That's where there's no tables or anything. If they had nice tables and chairs around and you could just get a soup and some drinks and like food and then just hang out and sit and talk to people and just sit down and eat, it wouldn't be so bad. But you're not. You have a limited seating section. And then
everybody's always fighting for the seats you do find.
Exactly. There's always vultures. And no offense to y'all, I get it. You're looking for some place to sit, but they're always circling around you. Oh yeah, and it's really hot.
We went last year in August. So that's like the hottest month, I think, to go to Florida is August.
I mean, July is pretty hot too. Yeah,
And
June, July.
I just remember we decided we were going to do some drinks, which we don't usually drink when we go around the world. Didn't used to be our MO. And we had some drinks. We made it to Morocco. We were trying to drink water. And I just remember just being completely drenched in sweat, just like completely soaked.
Yes, 100%. 100%. I do. Sorry, my phone's got sound on it today. Yes, 100%. We were so wet. But back to what I was saying real fast. So when you sit there and then the vultures are circling around you, now you have to get up and go to the next place. So now you're walking in that 100+ degree weather. You're soaking wet, like Macy says, and you're also just trying to go to the next one. And then it's like, do I get more food? Oh, now I'm already feeling sick from the last food I ate. You know, it's just...
And it's hard to find the food that like sounds appetizing. Like once you're like 3 booths in, you're like, I don't want any more heavy food.
Hot. Yes, it's so hot.
I want something cold, which is usually alcohol.
And the thing too is like stews are okay because they're preparing stews and bringing them to the booths. A lot of the stuff isn't made in the booths though, the other stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like they have these like fancy dishes and it's like, oh, that looks good, like crabs and shrimps. Yeah, they looked good and they tasted all right. I'm not hating on them, but they weren't made in the booth. None of the pastries or cookies are made in the booths. They're all made in their central location and then shipped to the booths. So it's never like you get like a warm cookie, you know?
Yeah. So that is definitely our biggest poo-poo is food and wine. And then the last festival of the year is the Festival of the Holidays, which is hit or miss because you could either have a really warm day or a really cold day. And that is going to determine what food you eat and how much of that you're going to enjoy.
Very true.
Because I think if it's nice and cool, I'm going to enjoy some of the more warmer foods. And if it's hot, I'm just going to be miserable. And either way, the food isn't the greatest. I think it's the least greatest during Festival of the Holidays. I think that one has the least impressive food because they're mostly focused on like sweets and cookies and different treats like
hot chocolates and stuff like that. Yeah, I agree. I think I agree with that. I like the one thing I like about the Festival of Holidays is when you do the searches, which we're going to talk about in another quickie later, probably like in the next few weeks. Doing one of the searches, you get kind of cool prizes. Like you'll get like a Christmas ornament or like a cookie cutter or something. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of cool. But as for the actual stuff that you're eating, I feel like, it's very sort of like desserty focused.
Yeah. I do enjoy that festival and like how they try to talk about different Christmas traditions at different countries. That part I do enjoy. But again, if it's hot, you're going to be miserable. If it's cold, like if it's cold, you're going to be miserable. If it's raining, because they do still get rain.
Every day about 5:00.
It makes it an interesting experience.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, the one thing I really like about it is honestly the time of the year is really great. So I love that. I love when they used to do the Christmas lights on the stuff, like the castle and stuff. And I know it's not technically Epcot, but that they don't do that anymore. So that takes away from the festival to me. If you're doing Festival of the Holidays and you're not decorating for the holidays, that takes away from the festival to me.
Yeah, but they do put Figment in a sweater.
They do. Wow, yeah.
Figment in a sweater.
Yeah, I mean, coming from California where they have multiple overlays, all you get is Figment in a sweater. And if you want to go to Magic Kingdom, you can ride the Jingle Cruise. That's it.
The Jingle Cruise. That is actually one of my favorites.
So I think that...
So overall, do you think the festivals give more appeal to Epcot or do they take away from Epcot?
I think they're the only thing they have. That's the thing.
It is the only thing they have.
Like, it's sad that they've basically weakened that park down to just festivals.
Yeah, if you don't have a festival, what are you doing at Epcot?
Right. The lands have so much potential, and they're just not using them, in my opinion. They don't have many rides, which they could have a ton more. They don't have. We could have
had a Matterhorn.
Yeah, they don't have very good food booths outside of the festivals. They're the same food that you've had for 15 years, and a lot of it, like in Norway, is basically sold just on princesses. Like the only reason why you go to that one is because you want to meet princesses. Well, put some good food there. Like I feel like Disney just doesn't want to hire good chefs to come up with good menus to make good food, so they get these like temporary places where they have these chefs kind of get to try different stuff. And be like, look, we let chefs in, but we're not actually going to let them in, you know?
Yeah. I would say it's been a long time since we've really sat down and done a deep dive into the restaurants of Epcot, but we were pretty disappointed when we did go back to Chef de France and we couldn't get our steak frites.
And the Morocco's not even there anymore.
Yeah, that one's closed.
So some have closed. The Chinese ones are basically any Chinese restaurant outside of the park that you want to go to will get you the exact same food. So,
same thing probably with the Mexican restaurants.
yes.
You could probably
you
get
can
better,
get better.
Mexican,
You can get better Mexican, let's be honest.
outside the park. What does that really leave you with? Canada? It's a steakhouse.
Italy's pizza place is okay, but again, you can get better pizza outside the parks. Like,
yeah, Japan, you get Tapani Do.
you get that fancy place, yeah.
Yeah.
Which again is a fancy place, so that's a whale, like we talked about in our previous quickie.
Not very many people are gonna drop $350 a person for a meal. So, I think the festivals help Epcot, but again, I echo your sentiments that that's all they got. So unfortunately, they have to continue with the festivals. I mean, yeah, they added Guardians, but that's not enough to keep the park fresh. And
I feel like if you're Disney, you use the festivals to kind of keep people coming to the parks, but you've got to be thinking, how do we improve these lands? How do we make them better? How do we do more things in them? But they're not doing that. They're just sitting on.
And they're all still sponsored by the countries too,
Right.
so they have to get input from whoever it is at these countries.
But even think about it, they were going to put in a Mary Poppins ride like 4 years ago, and that's vanished. They've said they're not going to do that anymore. So it's like you have all of these things where it's just constantly like you're not knowing what's going on. You're not knowing what they're doing, and they're just kind of like just sitting there like, meh, we got festivals to fill in the time space.
Yeah, I would agree. So we want to know what your sentiments are.
Yeah, let us know.
Do you like the festivals? Do you think they're a positive, a negative? Do you have a favorite festival that you like to go to?
And on top of that, what's your favorite food out of all the festivals? What is you're hoping they get? Is it the frushi?
Yeah, I love me some frushi.
The frushi is great, but if that's all that brings you back, I got to be like, why is there not more?
Frushi.
So what's your favorite food? What's your favorite festival?
And do you think Epcot could do more?
Yes.
Can they do more? I think the answer is a strong yes, but let us know.
We'd love to hear what you guys think.
So that is going to wrap up this week's quickie.
Giggity.
Something's going on outside our window, so enjoy that little bit of feedback from the trash cans as they get rolled out to the curb.
Yeah. So if you like this kind of content, make sure to leave us a message. Let us know. And I guess we'll see you on the next one.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.